I would approach the issues that we're having is with the instruments that we already have in place with the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, with the governor, with the 2 senators and congressmen that we already have in place, and ask them to help carry our issue to Washington. And I think they're going to have a much greater impact than we can have, to be quite honest. And my issue is the expense, and my issue is that I'm just not seeing a concrete result that the difference that has been made for the dollars that we spent. I'm having trouble seeing that.
I'm not being clear enough.
Okay.
I started out by saying I think we ought to be participating in the State County Commissioner Association's meetings a couple times a year. I think we should be participating in the legislative meetings. You have any trouble with that?
I do not.
Okay, that's why I wasn't being clear enough. So, and I was also stating that if we were going to carry forward the message through the county association, if we have an officer, because it only happens once in a while, we have an officer, I guess I'd supporting the officer that's carrying that message back for Wyoming. Right. And to have a disagreement with that.
Well, you know what, honestly, John, I mean, I look at it as kind of like playing chess, as a chessboard. We're just local NATRONA County Commissioners. That's who we are. And it seems to me like you're using a pawn, as much higher level, giving it basically more power than it really probably has in the bigger game of politics. You know what I mean? I think to me it makes more sense, to be using a governor or a United States congressman or senator to have impact on some of these folks that are fighting us. You know what I mean? And so again, Wyoming being commodity driven, and oil, being a bit down, it's going to be harder and harder to be traveling outside the state.
Yeah, and so I'm just going to tie it off.
Okay, go ahead. So, did I misunderstand your question?
Well, it's not their job.
I've been articulating well enough to you. But I think we're kind of agreeing from the standpoint that if we're going to participate at a state level, you're not having a problem with that.
Not at all.
And I don't know if you agreed or not, but I said in this case here we do have a officer that's at the state level, and that's still working with the governor's office and the congressional delegation. But we have an officer, and it isn't going to last long, and I would support him as representing, appropriately representing the statewide thing. So I think those expenses are all there. Now, go beyond that and have other members, no matter who it is, you, me, Forrest, Chairman, going on to national meetings. I do think that we need to probably discuss that from the standpoint, okay, what is really the message that we think we could have changed every year?
Say it,
what is the real message that we need to take there? And if we would all agree, or just don't all have to agree, but have that discussion you're talking about, the 5 on that. On okay, this is an important meeting. This is a subject that's really dear to us. We're going to be working in concert with our governor and our congressional people, and we think it's more than worthwhile to send a member back there.
But they're not.
Basis. So then how do you set
These
the budget?
guys want to act
for me,
like they're Congress.
You asked the question.
And that's not right.
Let's put there.
They're not Congress.
I'm not sure what you meant by increase.
The two on the screen right now.
I assume that
that's our Congress.
You weren't talking about decreasing. So I would still leave the budget around $10,000.
No.
And if we needed to add anything during the year, I think we could find a way to do that. If the meeting we felt the meeting was important enough. So
where are we right now? the 12?
We're about 12, 13,000, something like that.
13,455.
And the year
That's
before,
with no
the year
expense
before we were
on
at
my
that.
trip to Hawaii.
And let me,
I understand and appreciate that, Ron, I do.
I need to say this. We're going into the last 18 months of this administration. And I see the pressure being even more intense. In fact, much
It's already
intense. That's correct. And if we don't push back, I think we need to be more involved now than ever before. This administration is going to steamroll us if we don't stand up and speak. And by not having people back there, that's what he's going to do. The less we speak, the more apt he is to run over the top of us. We have had successes. We specifically were able to stop the national blueways. Now, they came right back at us with waters of the U.S. We've had some minor successes in that. They have made some concessions with the sage grouse, although they are minor. We have had some successes. Wyoming, in the public lands issues, is probably the most respected state in the country for our leadership that we take. Over and over and over, ideas come out of Wyoming. And then they get expressed when we go to these meetings. And people, and those
That's our
are the
legislators and our
resolutions that get
senators.
passed
It's
at
not your
WIR,
job.
that go to the all congressional delegations. They get that. It has the same effect in Washington, D.C. as when we do that activity in Wyoming, and it goes to our legislature. We are the most influential group when it comes to our legislature in the state.
Bullshit.
We have a lot of voice. Now, does that carry through to NACO? I'm not going to say at the same level, because at NACO, we do have those counties that are not in the West who push back very hard against our ESA stances, against our public lands stances. They push very hard against us, and they have the same vote we have. So I see this last 18 months as power on or get crushed.
And I think you got to be there. If it's a fight, you got to be in the fight, and that's where the fight is. But I would say that, in addition to what Forrest said, it's not only going to be the end of this administration. I hope that we have another administration of another party, and I don't care who it is right now, but we have got to be back there in those agencies trying to fix them too, trying to get the better people involved in those agencies. If we don't have a fix in those agencies, it's going to continue. And it's going to be a problem. So we got to be involved, I think. For my part, I'd go to at least 15. We're 13.9 now. I'd go to 15.
And I would concur with that.
I mean, that's not, it's an increase, but
and I have no problem with paying a lot of my own expenses. That doesn't bother me. I've done it without a backward glance.
so, and mine too. So, but I think that would be good. I think we ought to go to 15. And then the idea of coming and talking about each trip, I think is fine. Because everybody needs to know what's going on.
Mr. Chairman, I still have this gnawing feeling that this county and maybe one or two other counties are doing it disproportionately and that's why I'm suggesting it should be more directed through the state association. If we're only seeing 2 or 3 counties that are actually going.
And we're not.
No,
it's more like 8 or 10.
It's more like
out
10.
of 23.
You got
We have
Gillette,
extremely high participation.
That's what
Gillette, Larry, Sublets, Rock Springs. Kent usually comes from Lincoln County. I've had some from Teton County. Sheridan County. So there's counties all over the state that go, Fremont County.
And it's your counties who have high percentages of public lands.
And lots of mineral development.
And mineral
are
development that go. So you can just pick them right off real easy, be it forested lands or minerals. Those are the counties that go because they're the most affected by what happens back there. So it's all those counties that Rob mentioned. There's 8 or 10. If they can get there, they're there. They can't always get to these conferences, but if they can, they are there. So it's not us carrying the whole load at all. And we try to have as large a voice as we can, and in addition to Rob being an officer, I'm the co-chairman of the public lands.
Oh, go fucking figure that one out.
As well as on the NACO Public Lands Steering Committee. So we have heavy and deep involvement.
You can't do anything sitting around, so I'm a member of the Environmental Committee.
Energy and Environmental Committee, EDLC.
So anyway, that's what's going on. And as far as coming back and telling you what's going on, I have no problem with that.
Well, and you may remember from a lot of my comments that I talk about a lot of that stuff at almost every meeting. What's going on and how important these issues are and what our part in it is. I believe in our involvement.
All right, I'll just say one last thing. Honestly, it's just, we're beating this, to death.
To death.
Is that, you mentioned, sage grouse, and I think, that is a big deal to Wyoming. But, the governor is, has and needs to be addressing that. We have been participating in the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, and the governor has been, looking at the wolf issue, and he's been fighting, the feds on that. Waters of the U.S. is already law, right? It just it is, and it isn't, and it is, and it just hasn't been funded. You know what I mean? So that's something that we could address to Cynthia Lummis, and I would be in 100% support of spending the extra dollars to get the premium paper and ink with letterhead and sending a thank you letter over to her asking her not to fund it. That would be like, in excess of $2.38 or whatever. But that's kind of where I'm at with it. It is, but again, it just bothers me, that it wasn't my words, guys, it was yours that said that, it's going to have to be, a change in the current administration before any difference can be made. So if that is truly the case, then $2,000 is more than ample.
Yeah.
We can't fight the fight sitting here.
And Rob, you know what? I am not afraid of a fight. Trust me. I would rather be the guy on the front line.
You just told us just a second ago, you said that we need to stay here.
Because
I think that makes sense.
You weren't elected to senator or legislation or
people either,
your county commissioner.
As John alluded to, we carrying the weight. Are we trying to be the voice of Wyoming? You know what I mean? Are we trying to be, all things to all people? And I'm thinking maybe we need to rethink that because
exactly.
We're not.
You're correct.
We are certainly a voice, and we should be a voice. And as I'll reiterate, as I go to these different functions, I see Senator Barasso, I see Senator ENZI, I see Cynthia Lummis. When they see me on the other side of the room, they come look me up. They want to have this conversation to the point of their staff having to pull them away from me because we talk about these issues. So I already know,
but you can have those conversations here,
and I do. And I did.
Yes, you can.
I already have those conversations. I know virtually their position on all of these issues.
Well, you guys know where I stand.
So the bulk of our time back there is not spent with ENZI and Barasso and Lummis. We do go and have a courtesy call, and they have what they call Wyoming Wednesdays, And typically we try to make it to that because all three of them are there. We get to shake their hand and say hello and talk about an issue or two. Then we go out to all the agencies and we spend hours and hours with those agencies discussing these points. And hey guys, these are duplicative rules. This isn't what your own hand guides and desk guides say. You're in direct violation of your own rules. And we say that right to their face. And they say, yeah.
They have to be
We
told in
understand.
Washington, D.C. that they cannot manage something without talking to people on the ground. And when we go back there, we're the people on the ground.
Are you suggesting a $2,000 budget?
Yes, I am.
That wouldn't come anywhere near covering what I was suggesting at the local level. If all of this,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even reasonable.
The one thing I will tell you guys before this budget session is over, you guys are going to be tired of me saying two words. Broken bridge. That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you, it's luckily we've got some reserves that were set up several years ago, and we can afford that. I wish it was
Still a
wish we
broken
didn't
bridge.
do it, but
It's going to cost.
at least we've got some reserves. But
But
that's
it's-
going to help those guys out there much.
Still a broken bridge, and you start spending reserves, you got to make that up. Still a broken bridge, and we're going to have to cut somewhere.
But Mr. Chairman, you guys have to decide on the local level how much you're going to be involved, how many meetings, maybe all five of you go, or four or three.
Yes.
And two, the most important ones, of course, is legislative, and then, usually Waco, because that's where you guys decide, where we all decide what we want to take to
And we have a
legislature.
couple spring and fall.
This spring, yeah, and so you're looking at a minimum of just sticking right in town of, I would say, $8,000.
I was going to say 6 to 8.
Yeah, $6,000 to $8,000.
That's where I was at. And that's why
Tracy and I-
stay with the 10,000
Yeah.
to allow some flexibility. And then if there's something
If there's
that's
more, then you address it.
that we talk about, we can find some money out of quote, the reserve.
Okay.
Anyway, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And you do need to be involved. Broken bridge or not, you
Yes.
still need to be involved in
I
your...
agree.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm serious, this next 18 months is going to be a challenge. And if we're not there speaking our piece, we will get run over.
It'll be one
It will be ugly.
It's already started. They're doing sage-grouse through regulation, whether it's listed or not, they're doing sage-grouse through regulation. And waters of the U.S. through regulation.
Yes.
And EPA on the way to reservation, so. So I still think 15 would cover it, but then we got 2 10s over here, so.
How about you?
I'm at 2. Honestly, I mean, we gotta, I think we've overspent, we have over-traveled, we have been a poor example, and we need to pull back and think it. We need to try and, reset our footing and have those conversations. Let it be $2,000, and then, sit down, and any time that any one of the commissioners, decide that they want to travel somewhere, then this, commission as a
Very
quorum
good, Keating.
needs to decide whether or not it is, worthwhile. Not that just going to bring information back, but some tangible proof that that the air that you have expended has been worth paying for. That's what I'm at.
I guess where I'm at is the chairman sent out the letter saying basically an even keel budget from last year. So I guess we would set the example by using it at the same as last year. So I mean, at least we're sticking to our word. I understand where you're coming from.
No, I know.
And I agree with
I know, I
it,
appreciate
but,
that. Yeah.
I also see that we do need to be involved. So I would say stay at 10 is good.
Commissioner Lawson?
I'm still at the 10 unless, until I can see more detail with regard to where the other increases are needed. I really haven't seen the detail. I don't know. I just, so I'm kind of more or less shooting from just my own experience, previous experience, and I agree. I think with all of us going, something that could be $6,000 to $8,000, another couple of $1,000s for another one trip or whatever. And then if we want to do anything beyond that, I think those are special trips that we need to look at on a case-by-case basis. That's where I got to be. So it's not being unreasonable. I think $2,000 is ridiculous. I will tell you that right now. But I'm not going to be going over the $15,000 side either.
We're how much right now? 13,900?
13,455.
13,455.
And the year before we were at what? We were at 8,600. So what changed so much between the year before and this year?
I think
They went to
probably
Hawaii.
the field trips and getting involved in EISs, and then mine. And mine hadn't been much. But I did have the DC, I did have one DC, and the registration for Hawaii. WIR, that's the change. WIR next year is not going to be much because it's in Jackson.
It's going to be in Jackson.
So,
210.
Yeah, and the year after that, where will it be? The Bahamas?
so is there a compromise somewhere in between?
Nope, 10. Stick with 10, boys.
I'd leave it at 10 and we'll come in and explain what we're going to do, I guess.
And if
But it is 13 now
Aww.
instead of 12.
Well, you went
And
to
I have-
Hawaii, shithead.
July 9th, I have an interim Ag, Water, and Public Lands Legislative Committee meeting that I've been asked to attend in Cheyenne. So, do I need to come and get permission
Yes.
from this group to do that?
Absolutely.
That's not my message. That's not the message I was given.
Steve?
No, I would think that's, I guess where I was going was for things like going to DC, I would say we need to talk about something like that, something that's going to require flying outside the state, or, I mean, if it's within the state and for your, you know, if you're on a public lands committee within the WCCA, I don't have a problem with it.
I've already been asked, I've been told that I will be in Washington, D.C. for the PIL fly-in. I probably have more expertise on that issue than just about anybody in the state, and have spoken with appropriations with senators and representatives from all over the U.S. on that issue, and presented the case, and have been, WCCA just said, you're going, if it comes about in September. Now, that doesn't mean I really want to go,
Sure you
nor do I necessarily believe that we need to go, but that remains to be seen by what comes out of the Appropriations Committee.
Will they be funding it?
No.
Yeah, my answer.
Well, I knew they weren't, Rob. I'm just saying.
No, that's why they made him
I'm
an
still ridiculous
honorary
over here, I'm just saying.
member, because it comes out of our dime.
Being told
to bring
that
his
you're gonna
brain
go
in.
to WCCA, I'm just,
Well, he's the expert.
What bullshit.
well,
They did it.
Call it
He got the
bullshit.
con-
Well, then
bullshit.
that's a perfect opportunity to let the state send you. I
Well,
mean, and that'd be
Yeah.
a perfect
remember,
If the
opportunity
state
for
thinks you should go, they get
23
you there.
counties instead of one having skin in the game.
right.
No
You gotta
shit.
remember that we pay dues into the state.
Well, and then let those dues send it. That's what
That's
I'm
right.
saying.
Yeah.
Duh.
Well, then I won't go.
What about-
Well, just that simple, I just won't go.
No, that's
Oh,
not. That's not
poor
what we're saying.
baby. Oh, we're going to throw a
That's what
temper
you're saying.
tantrum now.
No, that's not.
I
what
just
we're
won't
saying.
go.
We're saying
I'm waiting for him to throw himself on the
we're
floor
saying
like a
that we're paying
2-year-old.
dues into WCCA, which are not providing much of anything.
Yeah, you're paying fine or dues,
Providing quite a
but you
bit.
don't get to
Well,
use
they're,
them.
They're providing, but
You can't be.
Yeah, how can we say this? We are asking the rest of the county to be frugal with their dollars. Okay? Am I correct?
I don't think we've done no travel of unnecessary
No,
travel
we're
or
not.
anything like that.
But we
We've
are
done
asking
that
them
for a
to be
long time.
frugal with their dollars. And we're talking about increasing our travel budget, which I understand there is a need
To advocate for NATRONA County.
to advocate for the county, and I agree. But you have to be aware of the message that it sends, because perception is reality. Okay? Doesn't mean that it's right, but that perception becomes reality.
Well, last
And-
year, let me give you an example of perception. We were scheduled to get in Pill 1.4 million last year.
Yes.
He went to DC and they, along with others, not just for us, but they fought for Pilton and we got 3.2.
Right.
That is a big deal just in Natrona County.
I agree.
And so that alone, way more than paid for some trips. I mean, we were scheduled to get 1.4 million out of Pill and we got 3.2.
So
It
is that worth
is
it?
worth a lot of money.
Yes, in that instance. That is worth
And you're
it.
not going to have the same success on every issue.
Not saying
But
that you
and what
will.
I'm saying is, you know, if you're not there pushing, we will get steamrolled.
They don't, if you're not back there, they won't listen to you. Charleston is coming.
And I would encourage you to, you know, to write letters to LUMMIS and ENZI and gosh, even our surrounding states. Write letters to those representatives and senators.
Did you just say the key
You know,
word?
I've gone back there and talked to them
Representatives?
face to face and their staffs. And
Well,
at least we've gotten them to understand, in many cases, the issues.
but I'm sitting
Quit
here
tapping.
trying to figure out a number on which we can compromise on. But when you guys start digging your heels in on both sides, I start looking at it saying, you know what, I'm going to leave it at 10. And
Good
we'll
for
just call it
you.
good. You know, I'm trying to figure out a number that we can compromise on. You guys start digging your heels in, we got to compromise here. Okay? So
Quit tapping,
that's what
Renee.
we're at.
John, do you
So-
have a number?
I'm thinking 13, we're already over 13. I'd say, let's go with 13. John? Do you think
Aw.
that's
Steve, we're over 13 because,
What
yeah, we're
a
over 13.
disappointment.
I know, we're over 13
Because they went to
travel
Hawaii.
to Washington, D.C. and Hawaii.
Just
Yeah,
Washington,
no
D.C.
shit.
Why, is Hawaii part of that?
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Yes.
right? And so, all right, so if you're gonna raise it to
Was your
13.
wife part
but
of
you
that?
could also-
No, let me finish. If you're gonna raise it to 13, does that mean you're willing to sign a voucher next year to go back, similar locations?
You could also argue, though, with that, under that same premise, that we're at 13 because I went to Cheyenne. You could
Big
also
world
argue
of
that
difference.
under the premise.
Oh, I can't even believe you're
we're
saying
at 13
that.
because
You
John went
silly,
to
silly
Pinedale,
man on that
or
one.
that John and Forrest went to Portland, or that Rob went to Sheridan.
Yeah,
I mean,
Steve,
you could-
I
you could make-
definitely and clearly see a difference between
I
travel
agree.
to Pinedale,
I'm just saying.
Cheyenne, Lander, Riverton, Rock Springs, Evanston
I agree.
versus Hawaii.
I agree. I'm just saying that the premise is travel. And that's where we're at. And we're talking about more commissioners getting involved and having that voice.
Right.
Now, with 4 commissioners, 5, if you decide that you're going to travel within the state, for these even local ones, is it possible that we could be up to that 13? Yes. But we're stuck between 10 and 15. So we have to come to a compromise.
What is that?
I guess we don't have to. I mean, we can
I can plug a
Agreed.
number in there if you want.
We can agree to disagree and just leave it at 10. I mean, we can choose to just agree to disagree and leave it at 10 and move on, which
Yes.
works too.
I would
Yes.
ask Commissioner Lawson, is there a compromise number that you would be happy with?
You know, I don't think there is any magic number. I just don't think there's one. So I'll tell you what, if you, in an effort to compromise, is I guess in the typical political fashion, is I'll split the baby.
12-5?
Right.
12-5. 12-5 it is.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Tracy, we're blaming this on you.
Well, how'd you get done?
I guess we got that one out of the way. Now
So
what?
now we can
Yeah.
whip through the rest,
Now we've only got 44 more line items.
and we'll get those done in 10 minutes. Okay.